Toastmaster of the Hague is the second club in the Netherlands. And in 2002, we had the first club as Amsterdam Toastmaster. Yes, I have done a long list of experience. I'm in DTM, okay, but it doesn't say that much. It's more, if you're long enough working hard on the program, you become automatically DTM. I'm a past region advisor. I will tell more about the role as region advisor later. But what I'd like to do with you is talk about leadership. I think first about personal leadership and district leadership. Those are the two items I'd like to discuss today. But before I like to discuss leadership, I'd like to know from you, what do you think is leadership? If you go all to menti.com and use the code, what you see on top of your screen, 698345 and 3, I'd like to know from you first, what do you think are important words, 3 words about what do you think is important about leadership? How do you see leadership? If I give you all, every one of you have used Menti. You can use your phone for it or something else, tablet. Go to menti.com and use then the code 6913. 6983453. I see already one of the words coming up. Great. Vision is now the focus. Listening, inspiring, assertiveness, togetherness, communication, people guide. What I see, and I think is the most important part, is it's not being the boss, but more about the soft skills. I see coaching, having a vision, having a focus, communication, feeling responsible, sympathetic, empower people. And I think this is just one special one is in GS, DJ, and etc. But I think all the important parts, what I see is really focusing on the people skills. If I go back to leadership, one of my definitions of leadership, the ability to inspire and to motivate others into achieve a common goal. Not being the boss, because if you try to be the boss, you always will lose. But creating a team, working together and make the common goal achievable. I've seen my leadership always in 3 levels. The first bottom level is develop yourself. Because if you do not make the step forward, don't you develop yourself, you will never become a good leader. And I'm responsible for my own development. I can never make somebody else responsible for my own development. If I go back to my life and I have several points in my life, I can point out, this is really the point I made a decision for myself. And what happened? If I ask somebody else to help me in this, and there's always somebody available to help me. I give you an example. When I started my career in the Stone Age, in that time there was no personal computer. There was a big mainframe somewhere in the world, and you had a punch cards to make your programs or to use the computer. I came working for an office for civil engineering, and they had a special connection with the computer. And how they communicated, not with a keyboard, no, with punch cards. You have to punch your punch card. If you think about it, it's really archaic. But at that moment, if you wanted to work with the computer, you're really a special person. I came in the office and had to make all kinds of calculations by hand, writing it by hand. And I thought, I'd like to know more about the computer. I took some books out of the library, read it at home, and then I thought, now I have to do some practice. And to do that, I went to my managing director because 1 second of calculation time with the computer in that time cost 1 guilder. It's an equivalent of 50 euro cents. And that is more than 40 years ago. Imagine how the price was at that moment. So I went to my managing director and said, I'd like to use the computer, but I need a budget. Can you help me in this? He said, why do you want to do this? I said, I want to get more acquainted with the computer, how to work with it, how I can use it in my work. He said, okay, Jaap, please go ahead. He gave me a budget, and I was able to skill myself, to train myself in using a computer. And the first computer program I wrote was a computer program could do the work what I did in the whole day in just 10 seconds. What happened? I took the initiative to step forward, and the managing director gave me the opportunity to do it. If I didn't take the responsibility to step forward, I wouldn't have learned those skills. And so I can appoint several points in my life that I have made the decision to develop myself. I'm responsible for it. The next step in leadership I call participation. If you work in a team and you only do the work what you think is important for yourself, and you don't look to your colleagues in your team, perhaps they need your help, or perhaps the colleagues in your team can help you to be successful. And team cannot be successful if they collaborate. They work together to make the goal to work together. They want, if you don't do that, and if you work on your own, you're not a part of your team, and your team is not successful. Your team can only be successful if you're able and want to work together to make this project be successful. Just like a Toastmasters club. If you have the team of officers, if everybody's doing his own tasks without looking to how can I help the other be successful, what is the importance of my role compared to my colleagues, the VP membership with the VPE, or the VPPR with the VP membership, the president with the other people. If they do not work together, the club can never be successful. I have examples in my own team. I worked in my life as a civil engineer in bridge building. And if you want to build a bridge, you have to work together. Because otherwise, everybody's doing his own part. You can never bring all the units together and make one bridge. We can, as an end result. The same you can find it in your work. The same you can find it in Toastmasters, in everywhere where you work. So participation is what I call the second level of leadership. If you only work for yourself, okay, that's nice, but then you never learn to work together with other people. And the third level of leadership is what I call working with a team. Then you're not the boss of the team. Then your role is to motivate, to inspire the people in your team to achieve your common goal. If you're the leader, then you have to help the members in your team to be successful, because you only can be successful if your team is successful. So as a leader, you have to find out what are the strong points or the weak points in my team. How can I help them to overcome the weak points? How can I help them to become stronger in the team? Because what you want is not that you're successful, no, that the people in your team can take over your role. So you have to take them to that level that they have the experience and have the knowledge to take over your role. I have an expression for that. My responsibility as the leadership, as leader, is to create the leadership of tomorrow. So as leader, you're not the boss and be the shining star of being success. No, as a leader, as the boss, you are the person who helps your team to be successful. And if your team is successful, you are successful. This is how I see personal leadership. I like to know what is your division of, let's say, knowledge about how do you see, oh, why doesn't it go further? How do you see leadership? And I like to know, to go to the next slide. I like to know, okay, no, it doesn't work. I'm sorry, oh yes, oh yeah, no, oh yeah. Okay, I'd like to know from you now, what have you learned for leadership in Toastmasters? Can you give me some words? If you have any question, you put it in the chat box. I can read it. And at the end, I have a Q&A so you can ask your questions at the end too. Okay. Reflection, cooperation, communication. Patience, that's a great one. Great to see all those words: cooperation, collaboration, delegation, teamwork, flexibility. I think that's an important one, because you work in a team and you have to be flexible in how you have to be flexible with your working with your colleagues, because they have different kind of way of communication, temper. Vulnerability, I think that's a great one, because I think if you're able to be vulnerable, then you show strength. Great, thank you. That's a great way to. I like to talk about, we talked about leadership, and now I talk about leadership in Toastmasters. You're all club members of a club, and you're all now club officers. So you already have some experience with members of leadership. And perhaps you already have experienced, let's say, what I call participation. Working together is important to be successful. How terrible is it if you work in a club and the club officers always argue together, or everybody's doing his own role without collaboration? But above your club, you have several kind. Toastmasters is, let's say, let's start again. Toastmasters is successful not because we have clubs. Toastmasters is successful because we bring clubs together. We exchange ideas. We help each other to develop. And if somebody's in need, you always can call somebody else from another club and say, can you help me? We share experiences as club officers at meetings like this. We help each other to get better in achieving our goals. And we share experiences. And it doesn't happen naturally. For that, we have what we call a district. In the red area, you see you have a district, and this district has divisions. Shashibar is division director, and division has areas. And the areas have a responsibility to work together with the clubs, to help them to become better, and to help them to become better and unite them. And that is the success of Toastmasters International, that if you start a club, you're not on your own. You know there is a big group of people around you who can help you, will support you in achieving your goals. And that is what I call, if you want to go beyond your club as a club officer, think about the role of area director. Because perhaps you have now the knowledge what club quality means. You know what club speech contest is. You know what the benefits are. And as area director, you have the ability to organize club quality sessions for the other clubs. You have the ability to create club officers trainings, gift quality. You have the ability to start new clubs, of participating in starting new clubs. You have the ability to promote the benefits of Toastmasters. And you have the ability to encourage awareness of Toastmasters to all people around you. So what did you learn? Do you learn? It's really an extra skill. And I think it, let's say, stepping out of your comfort zone, trying to be better in what you do. Stepping out of your comfort zone in, perhaps if you're not so strong in promoting benefits of a club, okay, how can you do that? Organize together with somebody from PR a session about how can you promote Toastmasters. I'll give an example. When I was regional advisor in April, we had suddenly the lockdown. All the clubs had to go online, and everybody was really how we handle that. All the district directors I had to work with in Europe thought about, we are now in a situation we don't know what to do. So I came with the idea and said, why don't we create a session? I call it an open club session for whole Europe. So we created the project United We Speak. Perhaps you have heard about it. And what happened in the May, and the goal was to create online open houses for all countries in Europe. We took 2 months to prepare it, and what happened in May, we had a whole week long, every evening, 2 or 3 open houses somewhere in Europe, online. We had a big promotion campaign around it. And what happened? Some meetings had 100 or 120 people online. And they promoted Toastmasters. I've never done something like this, but what happened, people got so energized by it, and they got a lot of ideas by it, they used this idea to create online meetings in their own country or their own division or their own district. It was a big success, and it energized people to think about, out of the box, about doing something else than what they expected. So this whole lockdown of this all going online had for them a benefit. They learned something more about how can we promote Toastmasters outside the normal meetings, and they created this online meetings. You have to imagine, it was 11 different languages and in more than 15 sessions in 1 week. It was really an amazing event. I still have good feelings about it. So my challenge for you is, if you think about developing other skills than what you do in your club, and don't think about it for your it's only for Toastmasters. Every skill you learn, you can use it in your professional environment. I was a manager for a civil engineering office when I was an area director. But going outside my club and outside my management environment, because I worked with civil engineers, and I tend to work with people who are not civil engineers, different kind of people, I learned a lot about how do I communicate with people who are not from my same way of engineering. Because if I talk to civil engineers, I know how to talk to engineers because I speak the same language. But if they talk with other people who are not engineers, people, lawyers, marketeers, people who are do something totally different. You need a different kind of skill to talk to people. And what I learned as area director, it was a great opportunity to develop that skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have 10 minutes. Just a
Great.
reminder. Yeah.
That's excellent. I mean, so what did you learn? Will you learn as area director? Conductive, effective meetings, because beyond club level, You have to create meetings with your area council. You have to enhance your listening skills, because you have to learn what is the need of the clubs. How can I help them? Sharpen your presentation skills. What I did was very great. When I did my area director's visit to a club, I always asked them, can I be the general evaluator? I didn't evaluate at the evening because I more promoted Toastmasters, the clubs and the events what going to happen. It was for me a nice moment to present on a different way. Top team collaboration, successful teams, take and implement feedback is always important, but then on a different level. And then you don't work on your own as area director. I told already in the beginning, you're part of a team. And when I was district director, I had 2 times a year a meeting somewhere in Europe. In my time, my district was the whole Western Europe, and now it's France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Netherlands and Belgium. And then I had 2 times a year a meeting. And I think with joy back on my meetings in Rome, when I had a team training for the area directors and the division directors, and later in Barcelona with my area directors and division directors and the other team to come together and share ideas. So going beyond your club is not only doing, let's say, physics in clubs and organizing speech contests. No, you learn much more by sharing your ideas with other area directors in Europe and getting trainings on twice a year somewhere in Europe. And it enhances your network. My international network now is the whole world. And I'm a member of a Toastmasters family. So if I go to Australia, China, India, everywhere, and I call a Toastmasters club, I'm a part of a family. And with this, I've extended my family with so many people and with so many good memories. And the other part is I learned so much from this exercise. So my challenge to you is, if you want to say, I like to challenge myself, go beyond your club and take the next step and become an area director. Do you have any questions? We can do it via the microphone or via Menti. What do you think?
How do we do with Menti?
Don, you can do it now.
Oh, yes, I see it.
Yeah, I have I have a question, and that would be how much time as an area director, division director, do you think that a member should imagine spending? Okay. So let's quantify a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Let's say you have to visit your clubs. We're responsible for you twice. That is that's mandatory. You have twice a year a training for a whole weekend, somewhere in Europe, or somewhere in the district, that is France, Belgium, Luxembourg, or the Netherlands. And then you have to organize a contest. And that's the mandatory things. And that next to it, you contact with your, what I call area council. And the area council is the club president, the VPE, and the VP membership. You have meetings with them twice a year at least, or you can do it more. That is the time you have to spend. It's not really every evening or every week you have to spend one night. No. You have a cluster of time what you have to spend. If you organize an area contest or area contest, takes time, but delegation isn't part 2, of course. Because you have to find people who can organize it for you. When I was division director, and Sociedad. My division was the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. So my division council, my division contest was somewhere in Paris or in Brussels. Did I organize it? No, of course not. I asked people in that area to organize it for me. And I had contact with them, and on a distance, I could do a lot of things. And they organized it for me. Delegating is a very important part. Have that answered your question, Val?
Thank you. Yes, well answered. Okay, very clear.
Just a gentle reminder, we have 3 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge for an area director? If I looked at the challenges, it's how do you commit yourself? The biggest challenge for me is, let's say, do you want to commit yourself and work together with the other area directors to be successful? Work with your division director to be successful. I see as, for me, I don't see challenges, I see more opportunities to develop yourself. If you want to spend time, and I think if you go back to time, if you want to spend time for it and you get energy out of it, then time is not relevant, because then you get energized by the work you do. If it's a burden, it will be terrible to do. But if you open for it and say, I like to develop myself, then there's no challenge. Biggest challenge you faced as a region advisor? Yes, my biggest challenge as a region advisor was I had to work with a team I was not experienced with. Public relations. I had a team of public relations manager from all over Europe, and they were new too. So I had to challenge myself in how can I motivate and inspire those people. So what I brought people from Toastmasters International in who helped me to train and to inspire the public relations managers. So you don't have to do it by yourself. You always can ask help to achieve something. To summarize the goal of an area director in one line, that all the clubs have learned something from you. I think that is, for me, the most important thing. Okay, can send it to you via the chat, or you can, I send it to Shashidar, the team organization chart. Okay. What requirements for this role? Experience level, what we like for this role is VPE or president. That is really what we advise people to have before they start this role. They have experience in how the club works, what the challenges are in the club, so they know how it works. That is really what we prefer for the role as area director. And what's the best strategy to inspire people? That's another workshop. Can you do that another time? How long is the term? The term is 1 year. It starts at July the 1st and ends at June the 30th, just like your club officer's role. And it helps you in your credits for your DTM. Is that all questions answered this moment? No, my time is over. Thank you all. Okay. How much experience? VP, just 1 year, that's all. VPE, that's the VP education, yeah. Oh, how much time from do you know when you're elected? The process is already started. If you want to know more, contact Arnoud. He knows more about this. There's a process now going on that people are asked to nominate themselves as area director. You go through a process of interviewing, and then you know, I think in March, or you're selected, yes or no.
Yes, indeed. That's right. Maybe you can answer the questions over the chat, yeah? Is that okay?
Okay, I can do that. I'll
Yep.
stay for an extra 15 minutes, then I can answer the question for the chat.
Okay.
This was my presentation for today. I have some things left. I asked some people I work with now in Toastmasters International. I'm in a committee. Okay, what did leadership for them? What helped Toastmasters for them? And Margaret Page, she is our next president, international president. She's now the president-elect. Charles Gate, a colleague from mine, and Jeff Sobel. And this is what they told me they learned from their leadership in Toastmasters. Thank you all for your participation. And I love this Menti. It gives a nice opportunity to know who you are and what is important for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jaap.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well done.
Well, what I love looking at your presentation and your style is that despite we are all in different locations, you bought Mentimeter for us to express our opinions. So you show us different ways to make meetings interesting and more interactive as well. Perhaps this is something the club officers can take away as well for their clubs. They can start using Mentimeter in their club meetings to make it more interesting. Thank you so much for all the information, Jaap. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For our next presentation,